Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 135 of the Fanzone podcast, brought to you by our headline sponsors, Eco1 Windows. We always mention Eco1, but we never really say much about them. So I'm just going to do a little bit of pattern. So Eco1, if you didn't know, are award-winning windows and door fitting services across the Bolton and surrounding areas. And did you know that they have a 128 five-star reviews on Yell.com?
On Yell.com?
Yell.com. Unbelievable. Normally, I'd say head over to the Fanzone website to have a look a bit more. But why don't you head over to the Eco1 Windows website, Eco-1 Windows or Eco1-Windows.com. There you go. There's 400 reviews across all platforms, says Chris, of Eco1 Windows. Anyway.
And a follow chant.
Hey, yeah.
Is he talking about the song, or he's talking about follow the Eco1 Windows social pages?
Both.
Oh. Yeah, as he says, we fit windows, doors, and make chants. So, this evening's episode is entitled Forino-zone Bounce. Get it?
Boom, boom.
Bolton get battered everywhere they go. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Hey, yeah. Well done, Chris.
10 years. Isn't it?
10 long, painful years.
So the hoodoo has finally been broken as Bolton record a 1-0 victory at the Brick Community Stadium last night. And what a night it was. Colin, have you recovered?
I was a bit tired this morning, to be fair, but I think obviously it was just the adrenaline stuff. Yeah, I've recovered. Yeah, it's just another game to me, to be honest. Just need to go out and beat Bristol Rovers on Saturday. Not to bring the mood down a little bit, but on to the next one, as they say.
It's business. It's business.
I'll let all the younger ones revel in the misfortune of the pie eaters.
Yeah, must have been me and you, Ange. Ange, are you suitably recovered and refreshed after yesterday's historic victory?
I'm knackered today, and I actually had the day off work. But I think when you're up there with adrenaline, and then it takes you ages, doesn't it, to come back down, and you don't quite sleep right, and then I've just been scrolling stuff all day and finding more and more funny like reels and things. It's been a great day. But as Colin said, we only revel in this win. Should we back it up with another on Saturday, please? Yeah,
which is, as we know, Community Day. And before anybody starts, we don't. Colin, not bothered.
Jim, don't encourage him.
Oh, God's sake. Just no.
Don't encourage him. We'll reveal what we said in the group chat.
Oh, yeah.
Watch it. What you like, I'm not bothered.
Yeah, it's Community Day on Saturday, and despite what a lot of people always say when it's Community Day, we don't always lose on Community Day. We tend to win. Anyway, we'll see. But there'll be a big crowd on. But as Colin said, it's business. Hopefully, we won't turn up with fireworks and pyros being shot out of wheelie bins like last night. Because that weren't Tim Potts at all. But fair play for making us feel warm and welcome, and cheers for the 3 points. So, without further ado, let's have a little chat about the match last night. And it's our post-match reactions brought to you by Johnston Silin. Before we dive in, just want to say good luck to the boys this evening playing in the LFA Youth Cup final. Due flipping derby. Sorry. Hopefully, we can bring home some silverware against Blackpool over in Preston this evening. So I think, Colin, you're primed with updates, aren't you? Should we receive any?
I am, yeah. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that. So I'll put them in the chat hopefully as and when the lads get the old victory in and win a little bit of silverware, which would be nice for them.
Be lovely, that. Be lovely. Thanks to the 94 who have joined us so far. Colin, if you'd like to refer to the chat to give us some names and runners and riders.
Of course, yeah. Good evening to everybody. No individuals, of course. You're all contributing massively so far in the chat. Good evening, of course, to all the channel members. Of course, Jordan, Pete, Laura, and everybody else in between. Not just the channel members. You are all absolute superstars. Thank you very, very much for joining us. And as Chris is doing, we'll give you a little wave.
Just a little wave. There it is.
Little tiny finger wave.
Little wave. Little wave. So, last night we recorded a 1-0 victory in injury time, stoppage time, at the Brick Community Stadium, Wigan, for a 1-0 victory and a crucial 3 points, which moves us back into the playoff mix. Wow, what a difference a few days can make. Angela, we'll head over to you first with your... Really? Sorry, I do apologise. It's Wednesdays, it's not Sunday pod. Ange, what did you reckon?
I mean, you're all a bit rubbish, to be fair. We're the best performance ever. But you've got to go with what Shuey said in derbies. Don't matter. Don't remember the performance of a derby. You remember the result of it. And that's all that matters. I was worried before the match when the sheet came out, thinking that midfield's a little bit light and there's not a huge amount of options on the bench. It is a worry. It is a worry for me with this next. Is it 7 we've got left? I've lost count.
7, yeah.
7.
7.
Making sure we keep folk fit because we have got a couple of notorious injury proners. I'm just touching all the wood and crossing all the fingers and stuff with that one. But yeah, there weren't a lot. Neither keeper really did much. Baxter, I don't even think touched it, other than to collect a few that were rolling along the floor. But yeah, the performance left a lot to be desired. But we've been there before and played them off the park and come away with a loss. So
yeah,
for me, I'm a happy Ange. And I'm much happier than I was when I saw David last night and I was dying for a wee trying to get off that blooming out of that stand.
I think it's I think there's more times when you're not dying for a wee in the really. Let's be realistic. Bladder like a pee. But I know obviously you've had a child, so
that's when you've had a baby, you can comment.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It's not my place. Colin, what did you think of last night? I've got a good idea because you were stood next to me and you didn't show up. But go on.
Yeah, of course. They make me laugh. That club that we played last night. It's funny, isn't it? Everything from the pie mascot, the fireworks, the DJ, the music, the fire flame throwers, whatever they were. The lack of people in the grounds, everything. It's just such me and you described it as a Connie club, didn't we, last night?
We're missing with Port Stratton.
It's just missing a packet of KP salted nuts and a pint of draft.
Or a bath shandy.
Yeah, well, I'm on the shandy tonight, actually, to be fair.
Bloke coming in with a big basket selling fish and that.
Meat. Meat is just around front co-op.
They're everything we're not. They're a football club that leaves a lot to be desired. But the game was woeful, weren't it? I think we were talking about what we could potentially name the podcast tonight. About 3 quarters or pretty much towards the end of the game when we decided upon the word drab which I think was being branded about, which would have summed it up perfectly. But yeah, a couple of observations that I'm happy to share with the rest of you who are willing to listen. Before the game started, I said to Chris and Ben, I said, I think Ange possibly as well, a bit of an omen. The last time I'd sat in that part of the ground, which was next to the stand with nobody in it to our right, I saw us win, and that was when Klasnic scored. And prior to that, I'd sat there when Andranik scored in Anelka as well. So a bit of a good omen spot, and I did think that, as silly as it might sound, that might help towards us getting a victory, and it did.
We take it.
We'll have it.
We'll take anything we can. No, listen, it's good to get the result in it, but it's absolutely imperative that we win on Saturday. And I think hopefully we can go unbeaten for the rest of the season now, all being well. I think that should be the aim, because we need to go into that playoff run of games, firing all cylinders really and be in form, because we all know what momentum can do to obviously help. So yeah, on to the next one, as I say. But yeah, they make me laugh.
What's the official? I still don't know the answer to this, which is why I'm asking it.
Are you going to ask the official attendance?
No, I'm not asking the attendance.
No,
I think I heard that the night. What was the official thing put down as to why Ryan Lowe got sent off?
No, I don't care. Really,
I'm just intrigued.
Supposedly, one of our assistants / coaches encroached in the opposition technical area, and he took umbrage with it. And I think there was a bit of jostling, but the jostling was the only bit that the fourth official saw. Seemingly, he turned around and clocked it going on, and didn't see what led up to it or something. I was reading about it earlier, but it was biased. It was from a Wigan fan, so always two sides. But he got sent off anyway. Lost his head. Didn't ever. Nice to.
I do. Speaking of the devil, I do think not having him in the dugout and everything that comes with it with them helps last night. I think kind of mellowed it a little bit, didn't it?
Cool lad.
Yeah. He never helped the situation, did he? Let's be
fair. God, no. Oh, God, no.
No, not one jot. No, it was. But as you say, if it was being played in my back garden and I shut curtains, it was dreadful.
He's so calm, isn't he? He's a great kind of calming presence. I think in those situations, and his interview and stuff, and kind of he just gets it. He just understands it, and like we said before about his journalism degree, and he understands the do's and don'ts, and he conducts himself admirably, I think.
Yeah, he does, and he doesn't. Obviously, when he's being interviewed, the questions that he gets asked by our media team are stock, to say the least.
Yeah.
And whilst he's calm and articulate, he doesn't give stock answers.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not packed with football cliches and what you want to hear.
No, he's genuine. He's a genuine fella.
That's the word. Yeah. Exactly that. It is. And you've got to give him credit for that. But, as you say, it's a huge contrast to his predecessor. Anyway, it's one of those.
Can we just touch upon Ian's comment for the purpose of the audio listeners?
Not Ian Hesker, by the way.
Yeah, Ian Hesker, as mentioned in the chat. We should never have been in this situation, of course, alluding to the Wigan run of results. Of course, a percentage of those were Ian Evatt in charge. It was all down to Ian Evatt's bad management and comments that the hatred grew. I agree with that, Ian. Yeah. I think that's one of them things where Evatt will probably look back at his time in charge of us, many things, but one thing that he'll show grow from for his next role, because he like I said before, he never helped, did he?
No, his his situation management, needs quite a bit of work.
Yeah. It's very true, that, isn't it? But like you say, there's managers prior to him that also failed where we succeeded last night. So, but absolute credit to Steven Schumacher and his team for polishing the turd, for getting us a win last night. So, fair play. Now, this next segment has now been known in the past as a contractual obligation, and I think after last night's performance, could say the same. However, one man stood out. Fanzone man of the match.
Do you know what, though? There's a lot of people who pick up bonus points here for dance moves and corner flag waving and just sheer shithousery. So I think there's potentially could be a couple of man of the match shouts, not necessarily for on the pitch skill, shall we say? But anyway, let's get into it. Stick your vote in the chat. Who's your man of the match? We love an elaboration if you want to give us one of them. And we'll go with the panel and we'll start with, I think, Colin today.
You usually get picked first.
I know. My picture.
It was a terrible game, weren't it? So I don't think there's any really main standouts, if I'm honest. I think it's fair to say that Tomo had a really good game in the middle of the park. I think he certainly stepped up. And needed to do, really, because I think we missed Aaron Morley last night quite clearly, and I think Tomo did contribute quite well in terms of his distribution and trying to drive us forward in the right moments. Had a couple of efforts as well, which was good to see. I thought the defence was good as well across the board, to be fair. Will Forrester won a lot of aerial duels, which was imperative because obviously they wanted to stick it on us from time to time, and he definitely came out on top. But speaking of coming out on top, it has to be Chris Forino, and I'd said before he scored Chris, and I'm sure he'll back me up on this, that he was my man of the match because he was making he was reading the game very well, and I think he even said it in his interview. He said, "I don't want to get."
Yeah. You froze. We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what you actually said.
Excellent. Where did you lose me? Were I talking to myself?
You were talking about his interview.
Yes.
Yes, Forino said in his interview, didn't he, that he doesn't like to lose duels against the forwards that he's coming up against, and I think he certainly came out on top. So yeah, definitely Forino. I thought he obviously took his goal really well as well, didn't he? So yeah, absolutely.
I like that comment from Dan. Obviously, he had a different vantage point to us.
On the box.
And I think you are.
He didn't have to have, did he?
No. Moving on.
Saying notes. But I think that is a really accurate comparison. A younger, fitter, leaner, quicker as well, I think. Steven Schumacher said he's one of the fastest players he's seen. I think he might have been talking about his celebration, though, wasn't it?
Can I play a little bit of devil's advocate against that? I'm inclined to agree with an element of what he's saying. Certainly younger. Fitter, absolutely, because Rico's not played for a long time. But let's not have that recency bias mindset with regards to Rico Santos. I think he's been a really good defender for us for a really long time. And I think he's got a lot of attributes that Chris Forino doesn't have. And one thing I think that was missing last night was a distribution or a ball out from the back, because we were clearly playing into the channels and we were trying to find that ball in behind their fullbacks. And of which Chris Forino didn't find one pass out to the wide areas, which would have been worth its weight in gold last night. And of course, that is one of Rico's biggest assets. His distribution is really good. So maybe, Rico would have performed just as well last night as Forino. Who knows? So I just think we should remove the recency bias thing from it, because Chris Forino's playing very well. He took his goal well last night. He played very well last night. He's played well recently, but Rico's still a good defender at this level. So I think he might have a little bit of something to say about that between now and the end of the season.
if he watches. So before I move on to Chris for your man of the match, quick update that they are level at the break. Over
0-0.
Preston. Yes. Just had the notification pop up. So
there we go.
Yeah. So Chris.
With your
namesake or another?
I there was a few last night. I found it really, really frustrating that that Joe Randall popped so much flack. Cheering players off, whichever way you want to look at it, is not for me. I thought we were talking about it last night. He was finding space, he was finding pockets, but he was being given very, very little or no option of where to release. There was nothing going on for him to work with. So he was getting frustrated. It was really disappointing to see that bench cam at the end when Forino scored and it popped a shot of Randall. He just didn't seem to be engaged with the celebrations. Whether that's his personality or what, I don't know. But
it's a worry for me that I worry about that he's not settling and he's not. I do.
He had issues at Peterborough with the same thing, didn't he? So it's only natural.
I think you can read a little bit too much into it, mate. Listen, when you strip it all back, we haven't actually achieved anything, have we? The goal is to play in the higher level, and the goal is to play in the Championship, of course, of where he has found himself in the past. So he might be purely focused on, trying to improve his game, because it does need improving somewhat, and he needs to, get better in the team and focus on getting us promoted as opposed to, winning one-off games.
Yeah,
because
maybe unless focused. Maybe
exactly. You can read a lot into that type of stuff for me.
It is a personality thing, I think. The other one, quite recent, obviously relevant to this game, was the George Johnston in the huddle. Oh, he looks terrified in the last time we played them. Trying to read his body language and his facial expressions. It's a dangerous thing to do, especially obviously we've had George on the pod. Shameless plug, and he's a very, very interesting character. Don't you agree? He's
quite a closed book.
Very much so. So it's like when people are saying, "Oh, look at him, he's terrified." I won't read too much. I think with Randall, and I know I'm rambling on, but I think with Randall, it's the fact that he's surrounded by his teammates. There's near close on 5,000 fans behind that goal, and he can't get involved in that, that camaraderie and that celebration. I don't know, but I think as I say, I thought he had an excellent game despite what people were saying about him. However, he's not my man of the match because Chris Forino is.
Excellent, thanks for that. We got there in the end.
We did, love.
So the chat, we've got a few shouts. Tomo, got a few for Chris Forino. Josh Stickers Codley, one for pure shithousery with Macca, which was a thing to behold. That video of him going in that to the Wigan fans was quite good. Georgie J, who I thought had a brilliant game.
Yeah,
Georgie Johnston was outstanding yesterday. He was the tackles he was putting in. It was more like Georgie of old for me. And I'm hoping that this is kind of. He's been there. He's been in that. He's played that derby match countless times now. So he absolutely knows what it's all about. And the fact he was singing his song with us at the end of that match. Hopefully for me, that might be a little bit of a propeller for the rest of the season and keep him going. And let's just see another 7 matches of that class Georgie J that we got last night. But no. Purely, I think more than anything, for the speed in which he legged it up the pitch after he scored yesterday, Chris Forino is my man of the match. And therefore, this week's episodes Fanzone Man of the Match is Chris Forino.
Plain sweet.
Just on the game yesterday, very quickly before we move on, I just think it's so important that we build on this result, because we all thought that beating Birmingham comfortably would allow us to build, and obviously we only won one then of the following kind of 4 games. So yeah, I'm hoping that because they've been through that as a team under Shuey, that that bumpiness, if you want to call it that, if that's the right phrase, of run of fixtures, that they managed to push on, really, because we do really need some momentum going into the playoffs if we were to get in it.
100%. Absolutely. We focus now. I think they had a rest today and back into training tomorrow, and it's all systems go for Saturday. And then obviously we've got Tuesday as well, so the games are coming round quickly.
Is that Rotherham? Is Tuesday Rotherham?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about little slipped in rescheduled one.
That's our game in hand on Charlton and
Yeah.
Stockport and Wrexham.
They all count though now, don't they? Every single one.
Yeah.
If we want a playoff place, we just got to keep them points coming in.
I think if you look at it, if you look at the table now, there's like a second group which is vying for 6, obviously of which we lead at the moment. But you've got Reading, Huddersfield, Blackpool, Orient have dropped off, but even still, they could be involved.
What a chasing pack that is, though.
I know it's not exactly esteemed company, is it? With the greatest of respects, it's mad one. But we'll touch on Reading in a minute in fan focus. But excuse me, before we do, I think we'll get stat on.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Get Stat On with the Stat Man. Of course, this segment of the Fanzone podcast is sponsored by General Salmon, and you all know the line by now. If you're buying a gaff, give her a bell. And don't worry, I've not moved room, I've just slightly moved the camera around. I'm repositioning my old drum stand as a good mount for my camera. But I'm sure none of you care about that in the slightest. Shut up, Stat Man. You're here to talk about the footy, aren't you? So, you obviously played Wigan yesterday. What a game. What a win. Big Forino. I mean, it's a cracking finish in it, but I don't know how they didn't get it clear. But of course, you know that the Statman segment is all about the next game. So let's completely forget about it. No, I'm only joking. But still, on the weekend, you are playing Bristol Rovers, who are 20th. Yeah, bit ropey, eh? And they are only 3 points above the drop. And the team behind them have a game in hand. If they win that, then Bristol Rovers will be in the relegation zone. So this is a big game for them. And it is, of course, a big game for you. So, they are woeful, to put it simply. Anyway, we'll get into it. So, if you're wondering why I'm looking there, that's where my notes are. It's quite heavy today, so prepare yourself. But their manager, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. I'll butcher it. But he did used to be a Brighton youth coach, under 18s. He only moved to Bristol Rovers in December. But you think being part of the Brighton setup, like they play good attacking football, that is not the case at all, to be completely honest. Yeah, so let's just get into it. So, yeah, as a Brighton team, obviously they're not, but you know what I mean. A Brighton coach, in my head, they play high intensity, they get the ball up the pitch quick, it's good, there's a little bit of flair, they let the players play, but it's also a good structure. That is not the case with Bristol Rovers. So, they only score 1 goal a game, 19th in the league for that. They concede 1.6 a game, 20th for that. So yeah, not great. And then let's just go through a couple more horrific statistics, shall we? They don't have much possession. They don't have many shots on target. They don't cross the ball. They don't play it long. They've conceded the most expected goals. Yeah, it's not great, is it? But something they do. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Something they do quite well is out of possession, should we say. I mean, that's what the stats say, but in-game, I'm not so sure, as we'll have a look at in a second. Let's look at the stats first, as I am the stat man. They make the second most interceptions per game. They make the fourth most tackles per game. And they make the most clearances per game. That could just be because of how long they don't have the ball and how much they end up defending. But still quite impressive. They're also quite decent at pressing. They're about 8th in the league for winning the ball back in the final third. But they tend to sit off in a bit more of a mid-block. They play a 4-3-3, so it's quite a good formation just to sit in. Can easily change to a 4-5-1. Very hard to play through. Or it is when they play at home, not so much when they play away. Because when they play at home, they've played 20 games at home, 20 games away from home, and they've got 20 more points at home than they have away from home. And of course, this game is at the tough sheet. So big advantage to you there, because they are not good at all away from home. Just 11 points, I think it is, away from home this season. So yeah, that is pretty poor. But the biggest thing to take out of this Statman segment is what we're going to come on to now. Their out of possession structure. While the statistics are mint, they are not, right? So take a look at this screenshot here. This is from the Birmingham game yesterday, right? Birmingham are sat in a bit of a situational back three. They play a back four, but the right back has pushed up and the left back's tucked in. Bristol Rovers decide this will be a great idea. We'll commit the whole front three and the two midfielders to go man for man. So Birmingham have the ball at the back and it's literally a 5v5. But the Bristol Rovers players aren't pressing, so there's no point in them being there. They've literally taken 5 people out of the game for no reason at all. The Birmingham centre-back clips the ball to the right-back, who's obviously not being marked because the left wing is pushed up to a centre-back. And believe it or not, they score from there. It comes a little bit later down the line, but it all stems from committing 2 midfielders and 3 forwards to nothing, basically. It's stupid. And I'm sure you'll see it again on Saturday. And I mean, apologies, Bristol Rovers fans, if you're watching, because I have just called you crap there. And yeah, my apologies. But my segment is now over. So enjoy the rest of the podcast, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Start calling him Salt and Pepper Stat.
Salt and Pepper Stat.
He said it himself when he sent us the
video. To be fair, I can't comment, obviously, but if you're confused as to what we might be talking about.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot audio listeners.
Yeah, Callum said when he posted his video, he said, I can't believe how grey I look. And that's the first time I watched that video. And Callum, unfortunately,
we agree.
I disagree. It's fair, isn't it, that? Some interesting stats whilst, excuse me, Callum was on air. Reference Joe Randall. I love his stat. And nobody delivers stats better than this man. Mr. BWSC 714.
Unrivaled over there.
Oh, outrageous. Unreal.
Yeah.
So Joe Randall has 37 goal contributions. That's 20 goals and 17 assists in his last 96 matches. There's definitely a decent player in there, I think, statistically. I don't like too much data in football, but there's got to be an undercurrent of it because it contributes. And I think this is a great...
Goals and assists are definitely stats that you can get on board with, aren't they?
It's not XG, Joel, is it?
Any
not
two
XG,
stats,
is it? No.
You can shove your XG and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, goals and assists, yeah.
Yeah, this is tangible stuff, this is stuff you can work with. So that's decent. It breaks down in a later comment from the same person that 1 in 3 at Peterborough, goals, assists, and 1 in 5 whilst he's been at Bolton. Not horrendous, but a player costing £1.2 million in League One I would say, being polite, I think there's more to come from the lad.
Do you know what I think the problem is with that skewed statistic to an extent? And I might be controversial in saying this, but I think when he was at Peterborough, from an offensive perspective, certainly not final third, forwards and attackers, I thought he was working with better players than he is at Bolton. I think Poku and players that he was playing with at Peterborough have gone on to do better things at other clubs, are better footballers than what he's dealing with at Bolton. I think that's part of his problem. The players around him are just not quite in tune to him.
The wavelength thing.
I said the same, Colin, that I think he will be a better player with better players around him.
Yes.
Yep.
Fair
comment. It makes him look crap at time to time. Very much, it's on obviously a lot less scale. And I was only a wee nipper, like 9, 10-year-old at the time. But when we first opened the Reebok, for the older people amongst us, they'll know that we signed Peter Beardsley from, where was it from? Was it Newcastle? Or certainly after that, I'm not sure. Anyway, we signed Peter Beardsley. And I remember my dad at the time saying, just watch Peter Beardsley. And I remember going, why? He's rubbish. He's rubbish, Dad. Look at him. He keeps getting ball away. And he was like, no, watch him. And he was obviously talking to me about his movement and he's looking for the pass and his body shape and all the rest of the stuff. And he was essentially one or two steps ahead of the players around him. And it's like that one, obviously on a lot smaller scale.
Yeah. It's not, isn't it? It's all relative, isn't it? It's at League One level, and Peter Beardsley was in the Premier League. It's all relative at the end of the day.
There's a couple of players at that time, weren't there? John Solarco as well was another one who looked poor. I think he was obviously a lot better than we had at the time as well.
I think recently, and Chris mentioned it on the way home in the car last night, I think it's an excellent comparison, was Shola Shortire. Really good comparison. In his first few games, he looked, I mean, his stats were off the charts. Peterborough away, Charlton away, phenomenal. And then he had to contend with the rigours of League One football, playing against, blokes, as it were. And
is that men's academy?
Yeah. It's exactly. And it's part of football in League One, unfortunately, that you can be dynamic and have this 360 view and, be slick and all that, but you just get lumps kicked out of you. So it must be quite...
This isn't the Joe Randall loving type of thing. He has got improvements to make in his game. It's a contributing factor towards he might look a little bit poor at times because, I think he's a bit... Up here is 1 or 2 steps ahead of a few of them.
But we have said, they were playing in League One, so there's going to be aspects of games that everyone needs to improve on, otherwise they'll be in the Premiership. But,
exactly.
Premier League.
Yeah.
Premier
League.
Right.
Division 1.
Division 1, Jesus Christ. I remember Division 4. Frightening. Threatening. Right. Let's have some fan focus. And I cannot believe how quiet it's been, considering what happened last night. I imagine people potentially are feeling a little bit jaded, and a lot's been said already, hasn't it, about last night. But we do have a couple of bits to cover. Thanks, Cole, for bringing that up. Blackpool get us underway for the second half, and it's 0-0. So 46 minutes of the LFA Youth Cup final. So just another game, Chris.
Come on, you whites.
I'm confused.
He's talking about the Wigan one, Chris. The Wigan game's just another game.
Yeah, business in it, mate. Business. Couple of bits we'll talk about this evening, and the first one is from super fan, David Green. Obviously, we're reveling in the success of last night, etc. Great times, happy days on all that. But also thoughts go to Friday and shouts going out to Matt and the team at Elm Park Royals. So the EFL will be deciding on, well, the fate of Reading on Friday, pretty much. Now, we're not a Reading podcast, but a bit of necessity, I think, is the watchword here. Because it were us once, if you remember Jim White posting
a bloody countdown clock.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing. So, on behalf of us all here, well, certainly me, I'm sure Cole and Ange,
absolutely.
Ben, and everybody's the same. Absolutely, F the EFL for what they've done. Fair and proper. Have a word with yourselves. It's a disgrace. So, to all Reading fans, and obviously we've worked with Matt and Elm Park Royals a lot on the pod. We just wish you all the very best on Friday. And we hope and pray that it is a positive outcome. And that's obviously even saying that with the fact that you are vying for playoff places with us, but there are bigger considerations in football, i.e. having a club to support.
Surviving, yeah, absolutely.
So, absolutely huge fingers crossedness and good luck to Reading on Friday. The second thing, excuse me, that I wanted to talk about is a post that I'm sure a lot of people saw last night. Obviously, Twitter was awash with celebrations, etc. And rightly so last night. But there was an extremely harrowing image that appeared on Twitter that kind of brought things into perspective a little bit. So I'll give you a bit of background, and I've seen a few comments in the chat this evening already about it. Justice for Jack, etc. For those who travel watching Bolton, you will be familiar with Kaylee and her son Jack, who is wheelchair bound. Goes to more games than most. I think I've seen him everywhere. Every away ground, he's always there. One of the things he loves, obviously, apart from obviously watching us win, is clapping the players off at the end. It's a big thing for him. So when you see a picture of him in tears outside the ground last night, having to listen to 4,500 Bolton supporters celebrating with the players in what was obviously a massive result. It was horrific. Now, a lot of people have gone at Wigan about this, and I don't know the whys and the wherefores. I'm not a security or health and safety expert, but my understanding is that the stadium is an affinity in its own right, an entity in its own right outside of Wigan. So, and obviously there's GMP and all that, and there's loads of politics and there's loads of rules and regulations around it. However, for a child of 12 years old who follows his club everywhere to have to sit outside a stadium and listen to that, which was deafening last night, is absolutely unacceptable. Now, we're a Bolton podcast. I don't know where this will go, if it will go anywhere. Frankly, I don't care. I want to get it off my chest because I think, honestly, God, it went from up here to down here seeing that picture last night. And for anyone who's got kids, you don't even have to have kids. To see that was just absolutely infuriating beyond belief. So
it's not really it wasn't really a difficult solution for them, was it? Like I said before, we were sat to to the right of the main stand where the players come out of. And naturally, if you look to the right, you see that there's quite a lot of empty space in that stand. Easily could have just put, asked his family if he wanted to kind of sit there and see the rest of the game out nice and safe, no problems. It's just absolutely horrendous.
Tell him that, do you know what? We'll just keep you here till the end. I think they would much prefer to have been the last to leave rather than chucked out.
Yeah. Look, Jordan's commented, because obviously he does a lot of work within the club as the Bolton Wanderers Disabled Supporters Association ambassador. I know that Kaylee, who's Jack's mum, does a lot of work in that regard as well. I just find it was for their own safety. You think about it, right? We're in League One, and you've got grounds like, well, you've got some grounds which aren't really particularly well kitted out, facilities-wise, safety-wise, etc., etc.
Roofs, etc.
Yeah. This is something that they'll have to endure everywhere, pretty much everywhere they go around the country, which is what he does.
Which is what he does, yeah.
So, come on, you know what I mean? So, it was infuriating being locked in. If we'd have lost, it would have been horrendous. Imagine being locked out after that.
It's heartbreaking, like Macaulay said. Heartbreaking.
So, horrible. To Kaylee and Jack, I don't know what to say.
There's nothing much we can say other than our hearts go out to you, because it means so much to him. Those matches, you can see with his face how much they mean to him, and it was absolutely heart-wrenching to see that picture last night.
Let's hope, Jack, that the players see them unfortunate, horrific events and use that as fuel as much as anything else to get us out of this division, and then you can enjoy a lot more of an enjoyable moment than us watching that Tin Pot Club down the road from us. So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's vile.
That sums it. I was laughing at the club before in terms of what they are, but that sums them up. Tin Pot.
Yeah, it's not great. It's, Leslie said, it's discrimination against the disabled. And it's quite simple what it is.
It is. You paid for a ticket to watch a full match, regardless.
Yeah, precisely. Anyway, I just hope that by giving a platform to it, that it can get somewhere and it can resonate in some way. Horrible. Well, there you go. So thank you to, sorry to drop a sponsorship link in after that, but thank you to Matt at Wood & Grounds for sponsoring the segment. And yeah, that's this evening's Fan Focus. Sorry to get a little bit subdued, but it needed saying.
Kind of from one little legend to another, maybe. Yeah. So obviously we've just
think about Chris like that, Ange.
Just talking about young Jack. Well, we've got another little legend in our fan group who is 11-year-old Oakley Bowling, and he is in conjunction with the BWFC Remembrance Group doing like a little mini Ironman on Saturday. So he's doing a 1/4 mile swim, followed by a 10-mile bike ride, and then a 7-mile run, which is going to finish at the Fanzone before the match on Saturday, about 2:00.
Wow.
He's raising money for Bolton Hospice and his school, which is Bolton Parish Church. He's already raised over £1,000, bless him.
Wow.
I've sent the link into the WhatsApp. If one of you can pop the link in the chat. If anyone's got a spare quid or whatever, or what I think would be really nice, if there's some of you kind of bobbing around the stadium, the fans on Saturday, give him a little clap as he comes in. Because he'll have absolutely, he's been training really hard for this. So yeah, just wanted to give him a little shout out and wish him all the best from everybody here at the Fanzone.
That's mint. So he's arriving at the Fanzone at 2:00.
Around about 2:00. Yeah, they've kind of timed it because I think his swim is in a leisure centre, and then his bike rides and Leverhulme Park, and then he's running 7 miles and finishing at the stadium. Yeah.
Some effort, like, isn't it? Over
Some
a grand.
effort.
What? No, that's off to you, Oakley, mate. That's absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, if you can donate, there's a link. Colin's put that in the chat. There's a GoFundMe link in there. And I'm sure we'll put it out on our socials as well. I think it's only right to do that. That's mega. That is mega. I saw another comment as well from Dan. Where's it gone? I've lost it now.
I won't worry, he's been saying an awful lot of stuff tonight, trying to entertain himself. He must be sat at home lonely.
He's watching us on the box,
I thought it was important for a minute, you know.
Yeah, but
maybe not.
That's why he never comes on the podcast, because what he says is never ever really that important. So, you know.
Meow.
Let's move on.
Right.
Meow.
I think we're actually done, and I think we're under time.
Record. We like a happy pod.
Efficient.
Three of us, you know.
Well, I'm saying it like a well-oiled machine. Thank you to all of you who joined us this evening. As always, couldn't do it without you. Our next pod will be the Bristol Rovers preview show with Charlie from Talking Gas. I believe that to be Thursday evening. God, it's only 5 minutes since he's been on.
I was going to say,
it's a really quick turnaround, isn't it? Yeah.
Stayed on. And then obviously we will be back on Sunday with hopefully a business-like 3-point podcast. So make sure you join us for that. Colin, thank you.
Pleasure. Still 0-0 the lads as well, by the way.
Still 0-0. I was going to say it's still 0-0.
Keep an eye on that and retweet it and all that stuff and give them a bit of support. Eh?
Yeah. Does he go straight to pens, or do we know?
I don't know.
Well, we don't know, so it gives you even more reason to keep your eye on it. So yeah, get behind them on Twitter and such like. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
And we will catch you on the next one.
See you Thursday.
Come on, you whites.
Ta-ra.